What's up, everybody? The video that I recorded before did not get saved for some reason and stopped recording halfway through, so I'm going to go ahead and record just the process that you can go through to be able to screen record your Figma transitions and then put them into Premiere Pro to be able to cut them down and make a nice little mock-up of your designs in motion. So the first place we're going to start there is Figma, and we do need to set up a screen recording software, and as you can see, I'm using OBS Studio to be able to do that. There are probably two programs that are easily accessible. OBS is super free, as is QuickTime Player if you're on a Mac, to be able to screen record and sort of screen capture, record what you're doing. So the first one is to click here where it would say start recording if I wasn't already recording, sharing that I am able to see my screen. You can actually set that up in settings. So if I go to settings here, I go to output, and I can choose where that saves to in the recorded path right here. I can choose browse if I wanted to go somewhere beside my desktop. And that is after you've already gone through the process of setting up your configuration. Generally speaking, the configuration wizard is totally fine for just screen grabbing things, sort of screen recording. If you're wanting to do a little bit more intense sort of streaming, platform things, that kind of stuff, you probably would want to go into a little bit more depth. I did put a video that goes into more depth on our Discord that you can check out. I believe it is in Tutorial and Resources tab if you want to check that out. So you can go to Tools, Auto Configure, go to Settings, choose your save location when you start recording, then hit Start Recording. The next thing I'm going to do is go over to my Figma project and then go ahead and jump into the prototype, in which case I would need to have some kind of recorded video that I could play. So I go ahead and hit play, and it will play through its kind of little animation video that I have set up here. If there are more things that you want to click through, of course, you could go over to them and sort of click them to get them to go to different pages. So you can do a lot of the process here by sort of clicking on the screen and sharing your prototype in that way. The next thing that I want to do is go ahead and go back to OBS and sort of stop recording to be able to do that. Since I'm recording here with OBS, I am not going to do that at the time. But then I should get a file on my desktop that just has that as a video. The next step would be going to Premiere Pro, in which I have here. Go ahead and click on New Project. If I click on New Project, I can give this a title. This is going to be my Figma video for prototype, if I can type correctly. And you can save that directly to your desktop or wherever you want to send that to. You can hit Browse here if you like. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. That will open up a new project, in which case I just need to get my new video recording in there, which I have pre-recorded one as well. Here it is. I can just drop this in to my project section, and now I can just drag and drop that onto my timeline to be able to create a composition that has that timeline available. In which case I would want to probably delete my audio layer. It would be really nice if we had some like kind of stock music. If anyone knows of where to find some of those things, set things to music is always really nice for transitions. We'll probably get into more of that in the animation class specifically. But I'm going to go ahead and delete my audio layer because I do not need it. It would just take up extra space, and it was blank anyway. Go ahead and select my footage here. I do need to advance this on my timeline so that I can see where the actual frame is that's not the OBS Studio look. I'm going to go to my Effects tab up here. I'm going to crop down some of these features that are sort of showing here. I don't want to see my dock or kind of my screen or like the tabs at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a crop effect. So if I type in CROP and then just drop the transform crop effect onto my footage. Then if I go back to my editing tab and scroll down, I can find my cropping effects, in which case I'm just going to click and drag on these numbers to be able to tuck it in. I could just tuck it in directly to the black background, but I think as you can tell, you can see a little bit of my sort of Figma prototype information. Maybe I don't want to see that. And so I'm going to go ahead and maybe do 15. Oh, not enough. Get a little bit closer, 40. 40 makes sense. Come down and kind of cut off some of that stuff at the top that I don't want to see. We'll do maybe around 15. We'll do 40 on the right as well, which is probably the right amount. You can just click on there and type them in if you like, and we'll do 15 is here. Nope, 40 was too much. I guess I off-centered it on both angles here. Let's try 30, 10. That looks better. So now we can see everything that we want to and nothing that we don't, in which case all I need to do is just sort of trim this clip. Two different ways you can trim things. If I zoom in here, this is my zoom at the bottom. I can use my razor tool to be able to cut things, and we'll find sort of where my prototype starts which is right about here, and I can just click with the razor tool to be able to add a cut. Go ahead and switch to my selection tool, select the clip that I don't want, and then hit delete. I'll just advance this to 0 so that it starts at that 0 position. I want to then zoom out a little bit, and another way that I can crop these, again just moving my timeline forward so that I can find where I actually don't see the OBS Studio at the end, where I had to hit stop record, right about there, and I'm just going to click and drag this at the end point to move it in. That will actually not shrink the video or speed it up in any time sense like I'm compressing anything, just more that I'm actually ending the video at that point, so it's trimmed at that space. I then just want to export this. This is pretty much what I wanted. It should play sort of my video as a transition point as it goes through. I think. Yep, there you go. So you can see it is playing. If I hit play, it would play. I would go ahead and select that clip. I'm going to go up to the File menu and down to Export Media. And when I do that, it should send this to a dialog box so that I can actually set up my settings here for the little video here. It's right at about 30 seconds, which is perfect. Even if I wanted to put on like Instagram, things like that, I'm going to hit Export Audio, turn that off because there is no audio on this. I'll click here for Export Output Name. I can send that to my desktop. And it's going to save as an MP4 file, which is perfectly fine. You could check your render settings. Most of my stuff is already set up. Basic video settings you probably won't have to mess with too much to be able to get these to line up. And then I'm just going to click the Q button. So the Q button will take me to the Media Encoder. This is where I would actually want to encode things for web because it gives you the option to choose the codec of H.264. And this one is down here under presets. If you pop up and wait for your video to show up here, you can also choose this from a drop-down menu. H.264 is the standard for videos on the internet. It's a really good combination between good quality of your video and small file size, so compression. I'm going to double check that this is where I wanted to send it here. I could change this if it wasn't correct by clicking on there and choosing a different name or export location. And then I'm just going to click on it and hit the play button, and that will actually do the render down here. A quick little tip for rendering, of course, is to be able to see that your output preview is closed. It will also render the output preview frame by frame, which takes a little bit more kind of attention away from the compression process, which is happening right here in the rendering. So keeping that in mind, that's kind of some nice stuff that you can do for your prototypes in Figma to be able to show those in your portfolio, perhaps on Behance or other places. While this is rendering, and just to share with you really quickly some little tips and tricks in Behance that I thought were really nice. I'm actually taking a look here at Patrick Seymour's work. Does some really beautiful line illustrations using the pen tool and the blend feature in Illustrator. Really nicely done. But I think he does a really good job of presenting his work in transitions over across the two different view systems that are in Behance. I just wanted to share a little bit of a process of that with you. So this might be something that you could think about when setting up your case studies, and I'm hopeful that you are setting those up case studies for Behance so that you can also share your portfolio. So one thing that you can do when you're setting things up for Behance is to choose a background color. If the background color that you choose, if you can tell like this is selectable text, which means it was done in Behance, it's actually something that you could copy paste, where this is an image, something that I could not select the text. Go ahead and clicking on it will give me a full screen view of that picture. This is the two different ways that you can view things in Behance. I could click through the pictures as one way to sort of advance my view in this particular project. And the other way is to exit this and just scroll down vertically. So to be able to have a really nice view between those two different ways that people will use Behance to view your work is to have a very consistent background color that transitions on your frames. So if you consider these as also frames, or sort of like images, JPEGs that you make, the background color is the same as the background color that he's choosing for his template here in Behance. So when he adds his text in, it easily transitions between the images, right? So that you see the background color here is the same as the background color that's in Behance, which is here where the editable text is, and the next image in the series. So when I click on this image, we can see it in full scale. You can see that dark gray background that then transitions into a light blue. And if I continue down, if he did this really well, which I think he could have continued, had a little transition here at the bottom to go back to gray, even at a little bit of an angle would have been nice to mimic the fish's fin. But again, he does this here really well, and you can see that kind of angle thing that I was talking about there. So transitions again from a really nice view of the fish, detailed illustration, while also showing you this really nice kind of transition from the gray background to the teal in the background. So as I scroll down, the next frame that is adjacent to this one has the teal background again, which is a really beautiful mock-up before it transitions back to gray. So playing around with two background colors as you transition vertically can make it seem like it's one really long image when it's really split up into individual frames or screens or pictures, photographs, mock-ups, so that you can actually easily view the work in detail while also being able to scroll. So I think that's a great suggestion for how to set up your stuff in Behance. I think consideration of the two different ways that it will be viewed shows that you're really thinking about how to present your work, and it creates a beautiful case study. So that is one suggestion that I have for you when you put these together, and this is, if you want to check out some of this guy's work, it is Patrick Seymour. All right, I think that's everything. My video should be rendered, in which case I can go to my desktop and just double check that it is finished, and then play and watch that video happening in real time. And now this is a piece that I could also put as a video on Behance or a website for promotion. So, all finished. Have a good day, guys.